Welcome back, it's good to see you. So today we're going to talk about how to get an SBA loan. It's probably one of the most sought after business loans, and I want to talk about it. It's something that we get asked a lot of questions on, how to get one, where to get one, and you know, it absolutely can be a really great product, but there's really some things that you need to know, and I'm going to talk about those throughout this whole video. A few things is it's one of the most sought after, but it's one of the most time-consuming and more difficult business financing products to actually get approved for and then actually funded. So getting approved and getting funded are really two different things. So I'm going to talk about some of the challenges, some of the requirements so you don't waste time. If you don't meet these requirements, there's really no exceptions to these rules. So I'm going to go through a number of different things throughout this video, and I hope to help you. Number one is how long could it typically take? And this really it really depends on the bank that you're working with, and every bank's process is so different from the next one. But it typically can take about 3 to 6 months, really depending on the bank that you're working with, and also depending on how good you are with getting all your paperwork and everything put together. So 3 to 6 months is kind of really where it's at, and then I'm going to talk through a few other things past that. So a lot of people ask, where do I go to get an SBA loan? Well, there's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of lenders that offer SBA loans. If you Google, SBA loans, a million things will pop up, and every brand name bank offers an SBA loan. It's typically, in a lot of cases, it can make a lot of sense to work with a third party that can really help manage that process, streamline things, and be the communication between you and underwriting. This really helps limit the frustration and minimize the time. Next, I want to talk about the main guidelines on obtaining an SBA loan. One of the most common and popular SBA loans is the 7A SBA loan. The 7A can be used for real estate, or used for working capital or debt refinance. And I'm going to go through some of the terms and guidelines and what that looks like. On the working capital loans or debt refinance loans that don't tie to real estate, the SBA 7A product is a 10-year product, and the interest rates are typically prime plus 2 to 3%. You can find out the prime rate by looking it up in the Wall Street Journal or online. And on the real estate side, the terms are a 25-year term, and those are, again, typically about prime plus 2 to 3%. The guidelines are pretty similar in both products, and I'm going to talk about those guidelines now. So again, when applying for an SBA loan, there will be a decent amount of paperwork that you will need. So if you're going to apply for one, please prepare yourself for it and make sure you have all your ducks in a row in order to make the process successful. So first is going to be a credit score. You're really going to need about a minimum of a 680 credit score, especially on the real estate side. On the working capital side, you can go down to about maybe a 650, 660 FICO score, but 660, 680 is really going to be the bare minimum, and of course 700 plus is really going to be very helpful. If you're able to get past the credit score, then the bank is going to require 2 to 3 years of your personal and business tax returns. The last 2 years, they're really going to look for profitability, and more importantly, that profitability is going to need to be able to cover the new loan that you're taking on and any existing debt that's outstanding. On top of having 2 to 3 years of personal and business tax returns, you're also going to need year-to-date or interim financial statements, profit, loss, and balance sheet. Along with that, you're also going to need a debt schedule, so a list of any debts that are outstanding, the total amount and monthly payments, and the remaining terms. And then from there, the next thing is you cannot have any open tax liens or collections. This is a government-backed loan, so they do not like or allow you to have any type of tax liens, which is money technically owed to the government. You cannot have any recent 30-day late payments. So they're going to look at your credit report. Again, you need to have around a 680 minimum FICO score, maybe as low as a 655 on the non-real estate side. So if you pass that, it's really important that you don't have any recent 30-day late payments. They're going to look back over the last 12 to 24 months, and if there are 30-day late payments, it's going to be challenging, and there's going to need to be real reason in order to get around those. So if there are 30-day late payments, that might be a challenge. Past that, there are a few industry restrictions. If you're in the lending business, the real estate investing business, anything that's gambling or sex related, those are automatically going to disqualify you, and they will not lend to those type of industry types. So obviously on the real estate side, it would be used for purchasing real estate. You'll have to have an appraisal that's done, an environmental report. Sometimes those can be a little time consuming, and there are costs that are associated to those. On top of that, for a real estate purchase, you'll have to be putting down 10%, or in a refinance, you'll have to have a minimum of a 90% loan to value, meaning the new loan that you're taking out after your refinance cannot exceed more than 90% of the total value of the property. If you're using it for working capital, a new equipment purchase, or a debt, existing business debt refinance, it'll be over a 10-year period, and all those same guidelines do apply as far as the documents that you'll need to apply in credit score criteria. So if you are using this to refinance debt or working capital, the SBA is going to require, they're going to need a list of that debt, and that debt is going to have to be paid off through this transaction. If you're going to use it for equipment, you're going to have to provide invoices for that equipment, and they're going to understand what that equipment is and the costs, and they'll probably put a lien against that equipment. And then if you're using this for working capital, they're going to want to understand exactly what type of working capital, what exactly you're going to look to use it for, and you might have to list that out or give them an explanation. So typically for the 7(a) product for working capital, debt refinance, or equipment purchases, the loan amount, the somewhat standard loan amounts are as low as $30,000 and as high as $350,000. To be quite honest, if you're really looking to borrow anything under $100,000, I don't know if the process, time-consuming process, is worth the struggles, and there's other options out there that are available. For a real estate purchase, they go all the way up to about $5 million. It depends on the lender, but some lenders don't go under $350,000. Some lenders may, but typically $300,000 to $5 million range for any type of real estate purchase, which would also require you to put 10% down, as I mentioned earlier. So what we've been able to do is, on our platform, we created a product called the Hybridge. So I mentioned earlier, it typically takes about 3 to 6 months to get an SBA loan approved and funded, which, for most business owners and in the business world, 3 to 6 months is a long time, and usually when you need financing, you need to move pretty quickly. In one of our most recent transactions, we're actually able to get one of our clients funded in 45 to 60 days, and we've been able to really minimize the process, eliminate unnecessary paperwork, and really just streamline the process. And we've pulled in and really found the right banks that are able to move quickly and work with a number and vast majority of all the industries out there across the country. On top of that, we've also found that 45 to 60 days can still be a long time. And a lot of clients might have an opportunity that they need to move quickly on. So we created a product called the Hybridge SBA. And basically what that does is we're able to give you a small bridge loan right now, so you can take advantage of any opportunity or satisfy any challenges that are happening in your business. So with this new product, we've been able to make some real magic happen and get things done really quickly. If you'd like some more information about that, please check out the link below. We've also made another video on how long does it take to get an SBA loan. If you'd like to understand that a little bit further, check out the link right here. I appreciate you watching. Hope this was helpful, and please subscribe. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.